Okay, so we're down here in my activity room and I want to point out something. I got these prayer wheels. These are Buddhist Tibetan prayer wheels. You just spin the wheel like that. I have one on both sides and you can pray or meditate. Okay, so this here is sacred, okay? Over here we have things that are secular. These are secular items. Even though I have a Buddha here that a part of my feng shui decorations, this is sacred, but I'm using it in a secular way. But the rest of the items here are secular, you know. They're not really churchy. Here, this is kind of churchy. This here is not churchy. You know, this is, okay, they're secular. However, these here yet are spiritual. See, religion has to do with good prevailing. Spirituality has to do with evil failing. There's something that helps evil to fail. So you have a small little xylophone there, and I have an owl whistle. So you could... And, you know, I have other things here that are spiritual, but because they do have a nature, I would like you to consider the lighthouse and how it helps evil to fail for being undermined. And we're undermined even of our technology. You know, there's something about the lighthouse that helps it, that makes it phenomenally so that electricity will remain. It is helping evil to fail, you see. It itself is secular. The lighthouse is secular. But it helps evil to fail. However, once a year, it was used for a religious, sacred event. Just like the processional of the Ark of the Covenant from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Chicago and back again. That's a religious, sacred tradition. The lighthouse annually had a sacred tradition where priests would do something. They would have an event there once a year, okay? So it was involved with sacred tradition, but yet it itself has a secular nature. And then, you know, once a year it was a sacred event. Okay, so we're going to go back upstairs. Before we go back upstairs, I want to point out that this is a small little kaleidoscope. See, can we look through there? Where's my camera window here? See, can you see through that? Maybe a little bit here. There we go. Okay. It's a kaleidoscope, a small little kaleidoscope. Is there something about a kaleidoscope that helps evil to fail? There is. See, there are these spiritual items that are very worth having in your home. It really does. There's a phenomenon that it really does counter. I mean, it's a part of it, and it helps evil to fail. Okay, so now we're going back upstairs. Okay, so, you know, where we left off, you know, can they keep the letters I send to them safely and comfortably in their respective offices? That's something to consider. A governor and president only have 4-year, 8-year terms, whereas a lifelong ruling tradition has their whole lives. See, now we're wondering, is the letters I just sent Donald Trump, there's a different nature now that he's no longer the president, you see. So the steps that we need to develop are what they are. If he had a lifelong ruling position, I could make more progress with him. See, it could be we the people were rascally, wanting only so much progressive opportunity to happen with a ruler. And then, it's futile. Don't write your letters, okay? You're not going to make progress. It's only 4 to 8 years, and you can only do so much during that time. And then, well, you got to start all over again with the next one, huh? Okay, so there are a few things to consider with how we the people chose to be. And it's true, okay? We chose to be this way, so this is what we got. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, when the movie National Treasure first debuted, it may have had scenes in Ohio and also in Ontario. Have you seen the movie National Treasure? It's explaining the history of prime meridians, how the prime meridian has been in different locations. That movie also has Fluxed and Changed. It had a scene where the prime meridian went through Cleveland. Okay, it went through Cleveland, and then the prime meridian was, with a flux in time, the prime meridian went through Pennsylvania Station. In Philadelphia, there's a special historical station, and the prime meridian went right through that station. So the movie is Fluxed and Changed, and it had explained it had explained the history of where the prime meridian has been. And when I first began to watch the movie, it starred Tom Hanks. And by the end of the movie, the main character was Nicolas Cage. And by the end of the movie, I was wondering, what happened to Tom Hanks? Did he remain in the movie? How did the flux in time happen? Okay, so I'm going to explain more about this movie later. Let's just continue. Okay, so it had scenes in Ohio and Ontario. Considering fluxes and changes is something we need to do every day. The lighthouse reflects human encouragement to be observant about fluxes in time and changes. What kind of wick does it have today? Is it fabric or is it metal? A lighthouse is in the perfect setting of land and water. A refugee may also look for a beacon of hope. When I began to stay at the Refuge of Hope in late December, the names of the outside volunteers were posted near the doorway going into the kitchen from the day room. So we have a day room that we sit in, and then there's a hallway with a sink and counter area, and then a doorway that goes into the kitchen. And the names of the volunteers of the day were posted right there when I started to stay there. Somehow fluxes in time happened, and they no longer were doing that. And I was wondering if any staff member there even remembered when we were doing that. We were posting the names there every day. And then at some point, it seemed to disappear. Okay? All right. Let's see. We were informed that the names of the outside volunteers is posted there for our safety and so that we may be comfortable. We don't seem to be posting their names there at this time. When the stay-at-home orders end, may it be we will have an outside volunteers here to make coffee for us throughout the day the way they once did. We need to avoid the gradual undermining of our lives. The staff here also may need to consider how their lives may be undermined. It may be very important to make sure there are outside volunteers here and not ask the residents to do the dishes. You may need to complete a hand and also counter an adversary who may be undermining you. This seems to be an ordeal every day now, and it did not used to be. We may consider why housing volunteers not just we may need to consider why housing vouchers are not just given to us here at the shelter. See, when I first started staying there, I was given a housing voucher right there at the shelter, Refuge of Hope shelter, and then a flux in time happened, and it was as if I never received a voucher, and I was told, oh, you need to go over to ICANN or some other agency to get a housing voucher. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Fluxes in time do happen, and they undermine our lives. These things really are happening, okay? Is the government and perhaps even the police going to complain to the shelter because people have left here to be on the street because they are being exploited? That is a category that people who have careers with recovery and shelters need to consider. Okay, are your formal meetings disappearing? Okay, so on to my next video.